Welcome to episode 051 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It's September 9th, 2024. Kodax is here, that's me, and that's all. Let's talk about what I've been buying this last week or so. I guess I made these purchases a while ago, but they have finally arrived. So the only new game that I've actually received is Ace Attorney Investigations Collection for Nintendo Switch. This is the only way to get this physically in North America. There is a PS4 physical copy in Europe, and then in Japan, I believe they have Switch and PS4 available there. So this is a collection of Ace Attorney Investigations and Ace Attorney Investigations 2. So Investigations 2 is actually releasing in the West for the first time ever. Originally a DS game, so it's finally being localized, and we have a new subtitle called Prosecutor's Gambit. So that's a new localized subtitle for the game. Previously, this game did have a fan translation available, but now we got the Capcom approved localization, and the same person has been localizing like every single Ace Attorney game since the early 2000s, since the DS came out, I guess. So it's pretty cool. I'm sure it was a unique moment for them to finally be able to bring this game forward to the West for the first time officially. I know these two games play quite a bit differently than the usual Ace Attorney games do. I guess you're actually like moving around and controlling like a character on the screen and interacting with the environment that way, rather than it being more of a point and click kind of thing like the normal Ace Attorney games are. So this does have a unique spin on it, and of course it includes a like a treasure trove of bonus content, sort of behind the scenes stuff in terms of like a photo album, awards, special illustrations, and like concept art and that kind of thing. So this is now the third collection of Ace Attorney games, and with this one, all Ace Attorney games I believe are physically localized now for the West. Actually, this is the fourth, because there was Ace Attorney Collection, there was the Great Ace Attorney Collection, then there was Ace Attorney Collection 2, I forget what it was called, but no, the one that was 4, 5, 6. And now we have this one, Ace Attorney Investigations. And I believe Investigations 2 takes place after 4 or something like that. So you technically want to, like, if you haven't already played the other ones, you might want to look up the order that these were released, so you're kind of getting them chronologically in order that they, came out. I'm the kind of person, I don't like to play games chronologically or watch movies chronologically. So if, the creator of something created one movie first and then created the second movie, but maybe the second movie's a prequel, I would not start with the prequel and go into the second movie. I still believe that you should watch things in the order that they were actually put into the world. No judgment to people who want to watch Star Wars 1, 2, and 3 before they watch 4, 5, and 6, but there's something wrong with you. You got to be sick in the head if that's how you think you should do that. But again, no judgment. So yeah, Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, pretty cool to have that. I ordered Astrobot for PlayStation 5, which I've been really anticipating, and my order has still yet to be delivered. The game came out on Friday. Still don't have my order from Target, which is really disappointing. But I did get that order kind of on a nice little discount. So I guess I'm just patiently waiting until it comes in. In the meantime, I have been able to play a little bit of the game, but I'll talk about that more later. My friend of the show, Ben, who you previously heard a couple episodes ago, his copy came in right away, or he was able to get his copy on day 1 or maybe even day 0. Don't tell anyone. And there was a time where he was out of the house and he's like, hey, go ahead and, borrow my copy. That's okay. I know you want to play. So that was really nice of him. I appreciate getting to kind of get a head start before my own personal copy gets here. But I did get something Astrobot related. GameStop was really good about release date delivery for my Astrobot PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. This is a limited DualSense controller, limited edition they call it. It's sold at all major retailers, but it's like in and out of stock, mostly out of stock, although there have been a couple little restocks over the last couple days. I almost don't want to open it because the box is so nice and I'm worried that I'm going to like tear it up. I did recently get a DualSense last year. You may remember the story about me spilling beer on my DualSense and then Sony replaced it for me. So that one's still working fine. I don't really need to open up this DualSense quite yet, but I guess I got a DualSense ready for when that one starts acting up, because unfortunately these DualSense controllers from PlayStation are not very reliable. They end up getting stick drift, and it's just a real pain. And now they were charging $69.99 for controllers. They just, as of like last night, up the price everywhere, $5 on DualSense controllers. And we're going to talk a little bit more later about Sony increasing the price of all their PlayStation 5 stuff across the board, around the world. Not so much here in the US, but mostly around the world, the price is going up on all PlayStation 5 products. But this $5 increase on DualSenses did just hit us. But thankfully, I was able to get this one before that increase went into effect. But yeah, it looks like a real nice controller. I like how the box is embossed. Astro and the controller are like raised off of the box, and it's got like a nice textured feel, almost like you can play the controller, holding it in your hand via the box. So yeah, DualSense, very nice. Good job, Sony. Looks good. What have I been playing? So, like I said, I played a little bit of Astrobot, but I'm going to save some of that talk for next week, I think. In the meantime, the last 2 weeks, I have been playing a lot of Genshin Impact's 5.0 update. This adds the Natlan region, which I spoke a little bit about the controversy surrounding its lack of diversity in playable characters when, they built a whole region around pulling from diverse like real world cultures, specifically like Africa, South and Central America, and the Pacific Islands. So that has, it's left a bitter taste in my mouth, but I'm not going to boycott the game or not play because of that. It's just kind of a bummer. It would have just been cool to see them, I don't know, recognize those cultures in a more significant way with a playable character. But instead, they'll just, kind of pilfer from the cultures and take whatever they want, I suppose. But as for the region itself, it is absolutely gorgeous. They've added some really fun new gameplay mechanics in the form of these creatures that are in this new region. So as the playable character, you're able to essentially sort of inhabit these different creatures that have these different skills and abilities. So for example, one of them, think of it almost as like a Yoshi sort of thing, where you can like stick your tongue out and like leap forward towards like wherever like your tongue is at. So you can kind of like do these like crazy like triple jumps and go way high into the air, and you can latch yourself onto these different attach points with the tongue and sort of like jump to it. And then it also will refresh your like the amount of times you can do like the double jump thing, the triple jump thing. So that's pretty cool. It's probably my favorite one out of all of them. And then there's another one where you inhabit this like earth digging creature. Sorry, I don't have all the lore names in my head. I should have looked that up. But this one's pretty cool because you can literally burrow like into the ground, up the sides of cliffs, even like on the roofs of things like Like if there's like a cliff roof above your head, you can even be essentially like upside down. So that one's been pretty cool. And then there's one last one that's basically just you get to inhabit this like water creature, and while you're inside the water creature, you can kind of like jump in the air, almost like a dolphin, doing flips and tricks and stuff like that. And there's some cool mechanics to take advantage of that character too. They've been teasing a flying one as well. We haven't been able to actually play it. It'll be included in a future update, probably 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, somewhere in there. And so that one I'm looking forward to, because it would be pretty crazy if they just give us full flight in this game. People have been wondering if they would ever include mounts in Genshin Impact. The world is massive and huge, and it's bigger than some MMOs at this point. The world that it has, and a mount could be cool. The game has teleport points, which make it pretty easy to get around. And one of the better teleport systems I've seen in a game. Like, you select it on your map, and then you're there within like 1 second. None of these crazy long loading screens or anything like that. And it's really impressive how quickly you load when you play those games. So I don't know how much amount is really needed, but I would be really curious to see them give us the ability to inhabit like a flying creature, and we can fly around and explore this new region and new areas that continue to be open up and added to the game. So that's my experience with the gameplay side of Natlan. There is a whole new story involving the new sort of leader of this region, which is called an Archon. So the Fire Archon, Mavaka. She's pretty cool. She looks like a biker, so I don't know. People are suspecting that since so far all the new Natlan characters are getting some kind of like mobility twist to their gameplay, that she's going to be able to summon some kind of bike. Maybe it's a flying bike, who knows. Because like one of the new characters can basically ride on like a shark surfboard sort of thing, which sort of mimics the water monster that you can inhabit, or water creature. And then another one can mimic sort of the Yoshi type monster that you can inhabit, and then another one mimics the boring into the side of cliffs kind of monster. So it seems to be that they're kind of making an adjacent character for each of these monsters that is basically like sure, you can inhabit the monster and play that way, or you can get the character and kind of really take things to the next level. So I think that's how they're trying to incentivize. They almost give you a free demo version of that character via the inhabiting of the monsters, and then kind of to maybe prompt you to like, hey, I should use some of my premium currency and actually pull on that character and try to get them for my collection. So far I haven't been tempted by the one new 5-star character they have out. So we'll see if maybe I think about pulling on the second half of 5.0, where there will be another new character, the one that kind of mimics the Yoshi type character, or the monster. So I may be kind of tempted to go for that one, because I do like the gameplay of kind of like launching myself into the air and doing tricks and stuff. So I don't know, he looks pretty cool. I don't know, like from a damage standpoint, if he's very strong in that regard. I know the first character that's available right now, Mualani, she's very, very strong, maybe one of the strongest in terms of like burst damage, where she can just do like upwards of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of damage points and just kill most things in one shot. But like her gameplay itself, it hasn't really spoken to me in that way. Okay, so looking forward, and I have like totally finished 5.0. Like all the new content that they've dropped so far, I gobbled it up. I have 100% in all the new little sub-regions within the region of Natlan. So yeah, I'm basically waiting on 5.1 and any other little content they drop before then. But really, I want to play Astrobot. That's really what I want to be doing right now. But hopefully I'll be quite a bit deeper into it by the time we talk next week. So what do I got going on? I've got the Destiny art exhibit at Gallery Nucleus this weekend. I believe it's on Saturday. I don't know, I've been kind of iffy about going or not. I'm not really sure why I'm like, I mean, I don't play Destiny anymore, but it could be a cool opportunity, so I probably will end up going just to see what it's gonna be. I feel like when I don't go, I end up regretting it, so I'm just gonna go. But yeah, I don't know why I'm not like super pumped about it like I am about a lot of the other events going on at Gallery Nucleus. But yeah, I'll check it out and I'll report back on that next week too. So I guess let's jump into the news. We are going to start talking about Night School Studios. In 2016, they released their debut self-published game, Oxenfree, an old school style point-and-click adventure game with some modern enhancements. Oxenfree was made primarily by just 4 people, and the game turned out to be a big hit for the studio, and it basically, kind of propelled them into the indie elite. In April of 2021, at a Nintendo Indie Showcase, Night School Studios announced that they were working on a sequel, Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. Now, in between Oxenfree 1 and Oxenfree 2, they had a couple projects, and one of them was called After Party. And that game, I think, kind of didn't really connect with players in the same way that Oxenfree did. So I think they were kind of eager to pivot back to Oxenfree with the sequel, hoping to recapture like all the attention that they got. But when Oxenfree 2 ended up releasing, and this is kind of off topic, I don't remember there being like a whole lot of hubbub about it. I don't remember people really, being too excited for it. I guess, I don't know. Oxenfree was just kind of a special moment in time for the studio and for the industry. It just, right time, right place. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on at Night School Studios. What I can tell you is that in September of 2021, just a few months after they announced Oxenfree 2, Night School Studios would allow themselves to be acquired by Netflix as the first studio under the Netflix Games branch. So Netflix, has started to expand into video games by purchasing studios and having them create new games, create content based around their own games, as well as just being a games publisher effectively. And I know if you subscribe to Netflix and you have Android or iOS, which I guess that's really the only 2 options now, you can download various like premium games for free with your Netflix subscription and have access to them. So it's kind of a neat like perk. I don't really know how that drives, or if it really drives that many subscribers to Netflix. Like I don't know that anyone's going like, oh, I want to play these indie games, let me subscribe to Netflix. I think it's sort of like I'm subscribed to Netflix, I have access to these games, rather than the other way around. So fast forward to today, and it's been announced that Oxenfree is going to be removed from the indie game distribution platform known as itch.io. We've talked about itch.io before. It looks like Netflix doesn't want to have their game be available DRM free anymore. So itch, when you purchase a game there, like you get the whole game, like they just give you the file, the executable with all the files that you need. And there's no online check, there's no weird stuff going on there. Like you just own that game and all of its files. So this is the notice that they sent out to people who own the game on itch. Oxenfree will no longer be available on itch.io beginning October 1st, 2024. If you have already downloaded the game, you'll be able to keep it and continue to play from your downloaded files. If you have not already done so, you can download files until October 1st, 2024 to keep the game. Everyone who worked on Oxenfree deeply appreciates the support from our community over the past 8 years, and we hope to see you on another service or timeline soon. Thank you. I think with the timeline comment, they're referencing something from the Oxenfree game. So what they're telling players here is that you purchased this game some years ago or whenever, and now you only have until October 1st to download your files. So if you don't download it by October 1st, we took your money and you no longer have access to the game. There is a sort of a mutual understanding between players, your gamers, and, these publishers, that when you buy a game on a platform, like, you will have access to it on that platform in perpetuity. But as we've learned over the last year since we started this podcast, that's not always the case. What's essentially happening here is that Netflix, through Night School Games, is basically revoking people's purchases without giving them a refund. So let's say you downloaded Oxenfree before the October 1st deadline on your laptop. 2-3 years from now, your laptop fries, hard drive shot, whatever happens. Well, now you can't go back to itch.io and go to your downloads and re-download the game. Like, you would now have to repurchase Oxenfree on another platform if you wanted to play it again, or if maybe you never had gotten around to it in the first place. So to me, that's pretty messed up. It's scary to me that on platforms like Itch, and I've heard of this happening on Bandcamp too, where people buy and sell music, that purchases can be just fully revoked. Like, if you didn't already have it downloaded and you gave them money, you no longer have a product. A digital product should not be revocable in that way. Like, that's the one benefit digital has going for it, is that you should just be able to go back to it and re-download it whenever you want. Same kind of thing happened with Silent Hills on PlayStation 4. They released a free game to everyone, but then Konami had Sony revoke the licenses of everyone who downloaded Silent Hills. And if you ever lost your PS4 or something like that, or you deleted Silent Hills, you would not be able to re-download it, which is pretty messed up. I guess there they had the excuse that it was like, well, this was a free thing we provided, and now we no longer want people to have it. So, I mean, I guess there's that angle of it. But this is different. This is even more messed up. You gave them money, and now they're taking it away from you. That's just wrong. Okay, we've got another story about, gaming gone wrong, so to say. I Am 8-Bit, well known for being an event and merchandise specialist for the games industry, has expanded into physical games publishing over the last few years. So when I say publishing, it's usually not so much that, like, they're the person publishing the game to begin with. They're just the person handling their physical release. Although I Am 8-Bit is starting to venture more into, like, funding and publishing wholesale, from the ground up games. But right now, we're talking about a case where I Am 8-Bit is handling the physical release of a game published by Annapurna Interactive. One of their most recent projects has been publishing the definitive edition of the hit indie game The Outer Wilds, known as The Outer Wilds The Archaeologist Edition. This edition includes the Echoes of the Eye expansion pack on disc or cartridge. Physical game collectors often chase after these releases of games to make sure that they have all the content locally and without the need for any downloads. So a lot of times a game will come out, right? And then it's just the base, version 0 of the game. A lot of times it needs a day 1 patch or something. And then a year or two later, there might be like the definitive Game of the Year edition that has all the DLC and everything baked into it. While that sometimes is often not the most valuable version of a game, traditionally speaking, people think of the Game of the Year edition. It's got all these like labels and like ratings all over the box art and stuff, and it's just kind of ugly. Well, for this particular case, a lot of times those are the versions of the game you actually want if you're concerned about like the preservation of owning everything on cart or on disc. So it was nice that The Outer Wilds was finally getting that treatment with its expansion, Echoes of the Eye. So the game started shipping to customers finally, and the Nintendo Switch copies were just fine. no patches, and the DLC expansion, Echoes of the Eye, was on cartridge. The PS5 version, however, was incomplete and only contained the base game. There wasn't even so much as a voucher inside the disc, or inside the box. So I Am 8-Bit and Annapurna Games put out the following statement initially. Cosmic Dispatch, there's been a glitch in the time loop. Unfortunately for the PS5 physical edition of Outer Wilds, the Archaeologist Edition, the wrong version of the game made it into manufacturing. As a result, Echoes of the Eye expansion was not included on the disc. While Annapurna Interactive continues to investigate, if you purchase a copy from any global retailer, please provide proof of purchase to IM8bit's customer service at support.im8bit.com to receive a DLC voucher to redeem for the expansion. We sincerely apologize for this inconvenience. So it's a nice gesture of them to provide the DLC voucher, but it's not really the same as having the full and complete game on disc. That's why people bought this. They wanted everything on disc, complete and full. So customers started, rightfully so, I'd say, complaining, this is not a real solution. This is like a stopgap, if anything. You guys need to reprint the disc and get it into our hands. So another week or so goes by, and IM8-Bit and Annapurna Interactive put out yet another update on how they plan to make good on this. This one's a little bigger. Last week we announced that unfortunately the wrong version of the game made it to the PS5 physical edition of Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition during manufacturing. As a result, the Echoes of the Eye expansion was not included on disc. If you purchased or pre-ordered Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition, please read for the following resolution options. So the first one here is the digital fix. You just keep the one that you got and you send us your proof of purchase and we'll send you a digital code that gives you the expansion. Here's the one that most people are probably interested in. The physical fix. Return your physical edition. We will be reprinting the Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition for PS5 with the Echoes of the Eye expansion complete on disc. If you do not want the digital resolution, we advise you to return your physical edition to the retailer from which it was purchased as soon as possible, or cancel your order if you haven't received it yet. Next week, you will be able to place a new order for a corrected physical copy of Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition directly from a partnering online storefront. We will publicize the links when available. Due to the complicated nature of global retail distribution, this is the best way to ensure you can receive the version of the game we intended to release. Please note that production of the corrected version of the game will take around 8 weeks. Our partners at IM8-Bit are committed to the preservation of games in a physical format and strive to deliver physical editions that honor the quality and craft of their games. We deeply regret this error and apologize to you, our fans and customers, for the frustrating nature of this release. Thank you for your patience and understanding as we work to make this right. So pretty much what they're asking people to do is if you purchased the game, you received it, go and return it. And what we're going to offer you is in a week, you're going to be able to buy the game again. So you got your money back for the first game you bought, the incorrect one. Now you need to buy it again so that you can get the version that they always intended to release. Now they could have, had people submit their proof of purchase and mailed out replacement discs to people. But I guess that's too much work for them. And so what they're banking on basically is that less people will ask for the replacement option via returning it initially and then buying it a second time. So really you're not even asking for a replacement, you're just buying the game again. Now, do you guys see the big problem here? Most video game retailers don't accept open products. So if you received your game thinking it was the full and complete game, you opened it up, you stuck the disc in only to find out you don't have access to the DLC, you're basically SOL. Annapurna and IM8-Bit have no solution for you. I think unless you purchase directly from IM8-Bit, there's no retailer that's going to take your copy back. So now you're essentially stuck with a coaster, and now you're going to have to buy the game a second time. to get the one that you always wanted. So I think that's pretty unfortunate that gamers are gonna have to go that route. I mean, it's better than IM8-bit not offering a corrected physical version at all. But I mean, basically, like someone like me, I never ordered the original one, right? So I benefit from knowing that, oh, okay, they're going to do this the second time and they're going to do it right, so I should pre-order that one if I wanted the complete game. So it sucks that the people who jumped on it early and supported it initially are ultimately going to be punished with having to like argue with customer service and like try to show these social media posts to Target and Walmart and Amazon and Best Buy and wherever they purchased it from. And some people don't even have like those storefronts nearby them, depending on where you live. So, I mean, really, just what a pain in the butt to have to like maybe go pay return shipping on this to get it back to, whoever they purchased it from. Pretty ridiculous. But again, it's better than nothing, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. IM8-bit has had some unfortunate mistakes over the last few years. And this is kind of like piling on top of that, and it's getting a little embarrassing. That's almost why I think they have that statement at the end where it says, IM8-bit is committed to the preservation of games and physical formats, and we strive to deliver physical editions that honor the quality and craft. I do have to wonder, was this an Annapurna Games mistake, the original publisher of the game, the one who was like ultimately responsible for getting it out there and working with IM8-bit? Did IM8-bit screw up? Because basically what happens is when you're ready to send your game to the manufacturer, you have to upload the correct like file format effectively. And it seems like literally someone double clicked on the wrong file and this whole problem now is created. They were manufactured thinking everything was correct, and just what a huge mess to clean that up. Before we move on to the next news topic, I'm going to talk shirts real quick. So I have here a shirt I picked up back in 2016 when I was visiting Japan. I was in Harajuku, and I knew there was a little store there called Listen Flavor. As is often the case, these stores have the most incredible English names ever. And I knew they had a Danganronpa collaboration. Danganronpa is this crazy game series. I got it started on PSP and PlayStation Vita before moving to Switch, PS4, and PS5 even, I think. Maybe not PS5 yet. And I'm a real big fan of all the games. There's only 4 of them, I guess. 5, maybe, technically. And I picked up a couple shirts, and this one shirt right here is a purple crew neck short sleeve t-shirt, and it features one of the super high school level students, Kyoko Kirigiri. And she's like a detective, so that's kind of like her shtick. She's like, the best detective. So basically, in Danganronpa, there's, I can't remember, maybe a dozen students, and they are all basically the best at something. Like there's the baseballer, there's a cook, there's a detective, there's, so on and so forth. And some of them kind of disclose what they are right away, and some of them kind of keep it more of a secret as to, what their abilities are. And so at the top it says, reveal the truth. And then it shows Kyoko putting on her gloves. And this is like bespoke custom art that they had made just for these collaborations. They did not just print like generic, key art onto a t-shirt or anything like that. And then on the back, it shows sort of the evil mascot of Danganronpa, Monokuma, who's this like black and white Cruella de Vil sort of looking bear, I guess you could call it. And he's holding a sign that says Danganronpa, and it shows it almost like on top of a cup noodles looking cup. It says cup okubut. O-K-U-B-U-T. That I have no idea what that means. But yeah, this is a special shirt that I only break out for like Anime Expo, that kind of thing, because it's probably a little cringy to wear anywhere else. But yeah, I do enjoy these shirts. I wonder if Listen Flavors are around. I haven't heard from them in a while. Okay, let's jump back into the news. So Grand Theft Auto 6, it's not wrong to say it's probably the most anticipated video game of all time. Its predecessor, Grand Theft Auto 5, launched in 2013 and has made more than $8.5 billion in revenue across 3 console generations. It's literally been on PS3, PS4, and PS5. And the sequel, Grand Theft Auto 6, is coming out next year, supposedly, although it could delay, who knows. The game continues to chart even more than a decade after its original release. It still shows up on the sales chart. It's just absolutely bonkers. It just has never-ending sales. It just keeps going and going. It probably helps that people are rebuying it, across multiple platforms. So the series is known, Grand Theft Auto. You steal cars, you buy cars, you drive cars. And while you're doing all that, you're listening to the in-game radio station, which features some original music as well as a bunch of licensed music. So, of course, that's going to also be the case for Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, Martin Ware of 80s synthpop band Heaven 17 and the Human League was contacted by Rockstar to have one of Heaven 17's hit songs, Temptation, included in Grand Theft Auto 6. Martin describes being pretty excited, about this proposition, thinking, hey, this is a huge game. They're going to pay really well. Turns out that Rockstar is only offering Martin $7,500 with 0 royalties for a complete buyout of the song to use in all versions of Grand Theft Auto 6 in perpetuity. Martin was insulted by the offer, and while kind of airing this dirty laundry on social media, he told Rockstar to go F yourself. So obviously, $7,500 is an insultingly low offer from Rockstar, given how much money their games make. But, on the other hand, some people might see, well, yeah, that's a really low amount of money. But, think of the 100+ million people that are ultimately going to play this game, hear your music, maybe want to buy your music, go to one of your shows, or, stream your music, right? So, Martin kind of already thought about this, and he told people on Twitter, for those claiming Heaven 17 should have accepted the extremely low offer for buyout for Temptation in Grand Theft Auto 6, claiming increased exposure, 1 million streams generates each writer of the song $1,000 each. So, to some people that's a lot of money, but to Martin, I understand $1,000 for 1 million streams. Spotify doesn't exactly pay crazy good rates. So, exposure doesn't really go as far as maybe some people think it does. Martin also kind of posted someone's take on how wrong he was to not take money from Rockstar. So, Hyrule Sableye on Twitter says 8.6 billion. You're not effing entitled to any of it. They can put Barbie Girl in there and it's gonna make that amount. You chat on exposure, but you would literally make money off that. F you, you greedy, entitled cat. Glad that crappy song won't be in. I had to do a little bit of censoring there on that one. So it's kind of crazy to me that there are people literally tripping over themselves to defend Rockstar for only offering $7,500 to essentially own your song for their game forever. I don't think the exposure's worth it. I mean, Martin spelled it out. 1 million streams for the writers on that particular song would mean $1,000 a person. So, yeah, I mean, someone might say, well, it's like, well, you're at the end of your career. Like, wouldn't it just be cool to have your song, like, essentially encased in that game forever? And yeah, maybe some artists will look at it that way. Maybe they're like, well, I don't care about the money. It would just be cool to be part of that cultural phenomenon. And maybe sort of reinvigorate and new people discover my music. Maybe that's kind of how they're looking at it. Whereas Martin's looking at it like, I'm insulted they would offer something like that. Like, which I understand too. I get it both ways. But yeah, it is crazy to see. Like, I went through and there are dozens and dozens of comments telling him how stupid you are and how dare you try to, call out Rockstar. Like, they're amazing. They're the best. Like, they can do no wrong. Leave Rockstar alone. You're so mean. So I don't know. What do you think? Did he make the right call? Leave a comment below. Oh wait, that's not a YouTube video. Never mind. Okay, so for our final story, we are going to talk about PlayStation's 30th anniversary and kind of where that's leading us to very soon. So last week, PlayStation announced its first wave of plans to celebrate the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, the brand and the console. With these plans, which include some new board games available on the PlayStation Direct web store. Yeah, there's these 3 weird, like, I'm not really sure you can call them board games, but they're like these physical, like, games that have like blocks and stuff. And anyways, Sony's charging like $50 to like $75 for each of these 3 different games. And I don't know, they look like baby toys, but I'm sure some people are eating it up. And they've also announced a slate of PS5 game tournaments that will award 30th anniversary PSN avatars. There was also this graphic that was published that kind of had the 30th anniversary logo. But hidden in the background of this logo are silhouettes of different hardware across PlayStation's 30-year history. But folks really started examining these silhouettes in the background and noticed something new in the background, a product we've never seen before. These images and this mystery silhouette appear to feature a new model of the PlayStation 5, perhaps the rumored PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, Sony announced today, on September 9th, that they would be hosting a 9-minute technical presentation on Tuesday with PlayStation system architect Mark Cerny. This is likely the reveal of the long-rumored PlayStation 5 Pro. So the reason why that silhouette kind of drew people's attention was because about 2 weeks earlier, a known leaker in the industry shared a sort of concept, a very simple silhouette-style concept image of the PlayStation 5 Pro, which looks a lot like a regular PlayStation 5, but it has these sort of like 3 like Adidas-esque stripes going through the middle of it at kind of an angle. And so then when this silhouette came out from this 30th anniversary image, it kind of matched up with the sort of like the drawing that he published online. And so it seems pretty solid that the PlayStation 5 Pro is about to be announced tomorrow. Now, there are rumors that the PlayStation 5 Pro is not going to feature a disk drive. This is according to the same guy who first published an image of the PlayStation 5 Pro shape. So apparently the optional disk drive attachment that released alongside the all-digital PlayStation 5 last year will be able to slot into the PlayStation 5 Pro, and you'll be able to add a disk drive to the Pro that way. So Sony appears to be doing this to save money. Now, as you all know, the PlayStation 5 costs $500 US, and the PlayStation 5 Pro has to be more expensive than that, right? Even without a disk drive, it has to be more expensive. Recently, Sony has been raising the price of all PlayStation 5 hardware and peripherals across the country. Not just across the country, across the world, mostly in Japan and parts of Europe. Here in the States, the only thing we've seen is the $5 controller increase, but in Japan, the price of it has gone up several thousand yen, and the same thing is happening in parts of Europe as well, where it went up like 50 euros here, or whatever in different regions. So there's just no way that the PlayStation 5 Pro is not going to be any less than $599 US dollars. And that's without the disk drive. So the disk drive itself is going to cost an extra, $80 to add the disk drive onto it? It's kind of getting ridiculous. So when it's all said and done, after you pay tax, shipping, whatever, a lot of gamers, what Sony's going to be asking people to spend is upwards of, over $700, which is kind of crazy. By this point, you'd think we'd be seeing price drops on the PlayStation 5, not price increases. So it's just really interesting to see this generation take like a very different approach to everything. I think because of the weird position the world is in with inflation and prices still not really having come down since the pandemic price boom. I think it's going to be a tall ask for people to spend, $700 plus to purchase this thing. Now, do I want one? I don't know if I want one because I really don't know much about it. All we have is rumors. So tomorrow we're going to get presumably all the fine details about what's changing, how games will be better. Will games run better out of the box, or are we going to need to wait for a bunch of like patches on games? And I'm also kind of like, what's the point? I feel like there haven't really been that many games that have really pushed the PlayStation 5 to its extremes yet. We haven't even had a new game from Naughty Dog yet. All we've had is 2 remasters of the Last of Us games for PlayStation 5. What we really need is a new game to push the PlayStation 5 to its limits. And Naughty Dog is like the most well suited to doing something like that. I mean, look at The Last of Us on PS3. I mean, that game looks like it skipped a generation and went to PlayStation 5. It's crazy. Will I get one? I also don't know. If it's really $599 without a disk drive, I think I'm out. I think there's no way. If it has a disk drive, then maybe. Again, it'll depend on what it actually brings to the table. But yeah, $600, that's a lot to ask for. I don't know what kind of improvements, like, are they even necessary? Like, I don't know, I feel pretty happy with how my PlayStation 5 games run. And I've heard that, rumors say that it's not like all of a sudden 30 FPS games are now going to be 60 FPS. They're still going to be pushing fidelity more than they're going to be pushing frames per second. And I think a lot of gamers really want something that'll do 60 FPS and have that strong fidelity aspect going for it too. But it seems like this console, this PlayStation 5 Pro, is not going to be that console. Now, maybe we're in for some surprises tomorrow. And hopefully they show off some games that run on PlayStation 5 and then, now, and then show us like how significantly they're improved on PlayStation 5 Pro. If they don't do like a direct comparison kind of thing, I don't know. I don't really know how useful the presentation is going to be. It is going to only be 9 minutes long, so probably no new game announcements. And Mark Cerny, he's an interesting dude. So I suspect that he'll go really into the nitty gritty stuff. So it's sure to be kind of like a real technical presentation. A lot of it's probably going to go over my head. So hopefully they have like a dumbed down version to go along with Mark's words, so that we can, probably the visuals will probably help with that. But yeah, I'm interested in the PlayStation 5 Pro. I don't know, should anybody buy it? Probably not. but I think there's a couple million people out there who would buy it. I would have much rather have like a Switch Pro. I mean, we still don't even have Switch 2. This is ridiculous. Like the Switch Pro was supposed to come out the year the PlayStation 5 came out, and now the PlayStation 5 is getting a Pro model before we even have the Switch 2. It's just absolutely bonkers. So we'll probably have a lot more on the PlayStation 5 Pro next week. Until then, end transmission.